And we're officially live. Welcome everyone to this week's amazing DevRel AMA, which is I think the fourth. Is it the fourth or no? Yeah, it's the fourth DevRel AMA that we've ever had. Max is running a bit late. Let's see if he dropped me
What about
any
Oli?
DMs anyway. Anyways,
Do you know, Joe? What about Oli? Is he
yeah,
coming?
Ollie is on sick leave, the poor guy. So I wish him the best, and hopefully he'll get better soon. He's under the weather right now.
Mm, good, not good. Well, February influenza.
Exactly. It's been a pretty intense season influenza-wise. Welcome everybody who just joined. Guys, this is an AMA, so make sure to ask your questions. You can do so on the dedicated community called text channel, which is 2 channels above the stage that we're currently on. If you have any questions for our beautiful DevRel team, then make sure to drop them there. We already have a few questions. We're gonna probably start with those and then just move on to the next ones that you're asking.
Yeah,
But
and if
for
you know,
now, until we're waiting for Max, let's talk to Joe first. What have you guys been up to, the DevRel team?
Cool. So yeah, we've been up to all sorts, to be honest. So I think I'll talk about like Max and Ollie first. They've been a lot of material for the conference that's coming up in Denver. So they've been preparing for that, several things, and the new thing that's been developing, I think, in the last month and especially this week. So I've been creating a IPFS service provider, which sends a image through the mixnet to a service provider, uploads it to IPFS, and then we can get the hash back all the way back through to the first initial client. If that doesn't make much sense, don't worry. I'm completing the tutorial as we speak. I hope to get that out tonight for a good, as a good version. But yeah, guys, when it's released, just let me know where I can improve on stuff. But it's working and it runs on the mixnet. So anonymous file uploading is around the corner in the tutorial.
can I have a very noob question, Joe, regarding this? And sorry in advance for my lack of technical understanding. But like, can you explain briefly how is this different to the paste Nym image sharing capability?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Like, how is this solution different to the paste Nym image sharing capability done to IPFS?
Yeah, so the point is, I think, is to showcase the mixnet technology. So so how it starts off is we have an initial user client, and that user client will send that image to a service provider, which does the IPFS upload. Between the user client, the initial client, and the service provider, there's a WebSocket client for each of them, and the image that gets sent across from the initial client over to the server provider is done so through that WebSocket, therefore anonymously and privately. I hope that answers your question.
Not really, but probably it's just a bad question. But yeah, it's okay for me now. But yeah, I'm just wondering. Yeah. Let's roll with
Actually, can you upload anything to it or only images?
Right now, I've just got it set to just image files, but it shouldn't be too much of a tweak to actually just get anything uploading to it. I just haven't done it for this tutorial. But you could apply the same logic to any file. So yeah, but we can build a lot of stuff from that.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I can't wait to play around with that. Let's see our questions actually. Before Max is here, hopefully they're very difficult, and then we can like listen to Joe trying to answer it. and then ask some mean follow-ups that are even more difficult.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so CGI is asking, hi CGI, by the way, good to have you here. How is the routing measured? I think he means probably the routing score. So is it an interval of measure? Any way to have a detailed report about a specific mix node? I think we briefly touched on this last time, but let's cover it again. Oh, Max is here.
Sorry about that. Yeah. No, so Max, would you be able to explain routing to Sven?
Did you catch the question, Max? And welcome to the AMA, by the way. It's awesome
Yeah,
to have
no,
you.
I didn't hear the question, guys. So,
All right.
I mean,
Let me repeat it. So, how is the routing measured? Is it an interval of measure? And is there any way to have a detailed report about a specific mix node?
aside from the endpoints on both the mix node and on the validator API as well, I want to say, then you can essentially see, you should be able to see something. I haven't checked into this in a while. I mean, with the so with the monitor, right? I mean, at the moment, I can't remember exactly how often the monitor runs basically for each one. In terms of the detailed report, then yeah, it's just those endpoints, which I'll double check for you now. Yeah, that's kind of it at the moment. I mean, once we either implement the test your node feature, like that'll give you obviously like a far more detailed report because you'll actually be sending the packets like from your own machine. And also once we decentralize the network monitoring itself, then there will be a lot more information about this as well. So you just kind of have to bear with it for the moment, unfortunately.
Actually, a follow-up on that because this may be one of the soon TM questions. So apologies if it's one of those, but what's up with decentralizing the network monitoring? Because I've been hearing about that for quite some time, and it sounds like a fascinating problem and a really interesting solution to the problem. Can you share some details and maybe an update on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the work is going along on that. I mean, basically the it kind of throws up some really interesting stuff, which is being worked on at the moment. This this piece of the stack called ephemera, right? Which you may have seen in the repo. Again, we haven't really published that much about it yet because it's in progress. But it's kind of an interesting question, right? If you think of like, okay, cool, you have let's just say 5, right? Just arbitrary number, but you have whatever, more than 1. But it could be loads of them, right? So you have 5 instances of this thing that will all do what the network monitor currently does, right? So construct various different paths for traffic to go through the mix tab, yeah, centered around a particular node. And then measuring the amount of packets that they get back, if any are lost, whatever, right? So then the question is, okay, cool, once we've decentralized it, how do you then kind of have something secure, right? But without actually requiring like a second consensus system. Because obviously it's like, okay, cool, all of these guys need to share information about like between themselves. And then so you need to have a certain amount of security there, which, is say one instance of that is that like I'm one instance of this decentralized validator API. So I'll kind of get my results and then I'll sign it and I'll send it to everyone else and say, hey, could you sign that you've seen this? And so then everyone will do that with everyone else's results, right? But there's a question then, which is A, where do you store this information? And B, isn't this starting to sound a lot like a blockchain? And it kind of, you kind of are, but you're kind of not. So it's kind of one of these weird things where we wouldn't put all of this information in the actual Nix chain, right? Because it's an insane amount of information. It would just bloat the chain. And we don't really need to keep this forever. At some point in the future, no one's going to care about what Mixnode N12345 ABC was reported by a particular network monitor in a particular hour epoch, right? But you do need to keep that information around for a certain amount of time, hence the name ephemera. So yeah, basically this is one of the things that's kind of required for this to be a possibility, and that's kind of the stuff that's being worked on as well. Yeah. Does that answer the question, or does that actually just make more questions?
No, it does. It does answer it. One follow-up question to it though is what do we need? I mean, us in terms of Nym, and the network. What do we need the info for? So is it just for rewards and also to be able to show it in the Explorer, or is there some other reason to
Yeah.
to
So it's
measure performance?
it's the quality of service metrics, right? It's like what was previously uptime of a node. Like that's what the network monitor basically does. It looks at whether this mixed node is reachable or not, basically.
Makes sense. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question, also from CGI. Unless Hux also has a follow-up or anybody else.
No, I wanted to chime that in, but yeah, go ahead, hey, Max.
All right, so I'm not sure I'm going to be pronouncing this right, but what's outfo with FOUX is the spelling, so out FOUX. How will it differentiate from swings, or how will it be different from swings, I guess?
Oh wait, you mean Outfox, like the package formatted, Joe? Is that what you mean?
Oh, yeah. I think so. I mean, he's asking about the difference between swings and this thing, so I guess it's the package format.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the package format. Yeah, Outfox is the. I mean, I don't know if we're actually calling that, but that's what the directory and the repo is called. So good sleuthing. What's the difference? I couldn't tell you that much of the difference, to be honest. Unfortunately, I know that we will have pretty serious speed improvements because of it, but I haven't actually looked into Outfox that much yet. So yeah, sorry, dude. Once we are getting nearer towards it, obviously I will have far more of an idea, because I will also probably be writing a load of material to share with everyone about it. But for right now, I can't tell you that much, apart from the fact that we will get pretty significant speed ups just from changing this format, let alone the other kind of optimizations we can do on the mixer.
Just sleuthing indeed. I didn't even know that this was actually public. I think I only saw one reference to the new packet format on our internal channels at some point recently. So impressive CGI as always. I'm looking for the next question. Oh yeah. One more follow-up also from CGI about the routing score. I think it's a good question. I actually thought about this myself the other day. So are IPv4 and IPv6 packets tested, or is it only just one of them for the routing score?
It should be both, the best I can remember. Yeah.
Right. Well, folks, we don't have any more community questions. So if you have any, then leave them at the on the dedicated community call text channel, which is 2 above the stage. And for now, I think Hux, you probably have a question, and you're
That's what I thought. So hey Max, thanks again for doing Sunday evening with us. It's kind of, we've been talking about one specific stuff with some of the guys around the tropical island that kind of, we've been wondering of what kind of different use cases there might be from a business model point of view to integrating to the mixnet. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, and it's not like there's no good. It's just that's, have you thought about this, or have you guys thought about this? It would be super nice to hear. What we kind of on the level, I mean this, like there's service providers who can integrate this into their backend when the user doesn't know that it's happening, but maybe they pay a premium on this, and there's applications which differentiate through running on the mixnet as being super private something, and there might be some other ways of, like, for example, developing integrations for a software company. So what this is just rambling, but the question is, like, have you thought about sort of what use cases the mixnet could integrate into existing or new services? Or on what levels?
I mean, the use case. I mean, the obvious use cases, right? Which is the use cases that we've kind of already seen, right, and had a look at. I mean, this is for right now as well. Mainnet has. I'm trying to remember when we launched in February last year, but I can't quite remember. But like, Mainnet's only been up a year. We've been testing a lot of stuff out, all of this kind of stuff. And in terms of the type of apps, then I think to a certain extent it's quite, at least in terms of using the mixnet, then there's the technical answer to that question, which is that mixnets suit like asynchronous applications pretty nicely, right? Email, messaging, file upload, storage, transfer, and crypto stuff, right? So that's kind of on the technical level. Do you mean more in like a strategic sense of like who it would be good to first try and integrate with, or?
Yeah. Like it's kind of. I'm sure that there's no. I mean, it's something to discover together in a sense, for me at least, and that's why I'm trying to pick your your brain or Joe's brain or Sudo's brain or anyone's brain for the matter. Like I'm thinking how, like, could how other ways could developers create value for existing software companies or for existing niches with new software, and then this is where I'm at with the thinking. So the thing that you said, like async apps, it was really good word for me, for example, to write down in my notebook now, but I'm thinking, would it make sense to play video games, not like FPS video games, but like strategic ones, or kind of massive multiplayer online role-playing games through the mixnet? Does it make any sense? I'm not sure, but just what kind of other ideas or crazy ideas there out there?
I mean,
I've got a few ideas.
Nice.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought it'd be cool to like integrate like a games API through the mix, and how you would do that. I'm not quite sure what title you would want to do. I mean, what you just mentioned, an MMO or a strategy game, right? Like, what would that be? But I think just before you answer, just one thing I thought would be pretty cool is creating a service provider has all the mixnet implementation in it that would communicate to chat GTP, because I think they've got a pretty decent API, and it'd be quite cool to just get anonymous AI messages off it. But that's just an idea. What do you think of that?
I love it. It's in my little notebook now. No, but I've seen and like, can I ask follow up on the game side, like, because the thing I kind of have as a vision, and it might be like I don't know, not a valid vision, but how I imagine future DAO tooling or future governance tooling and company processes even. I kind of imagine video games being played, and then what you do inside the video game is kind of what happens with the business on the process level. Like, you create some stuff, you do content, or you follow a process, then you gain a level up to join another meeting, and that's how I think. So I'm just curious, like, when you say integrate the gaming API, what you have in mind, or
No, I guess I said that I was just asking that in relation to understanding what angle you were coming from in terms of that. But are you talking about let's say you're in an MMO and you want your actions to remain anonymous, so to speak. Is that more? Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Because I mean, imagine World of Warcraft by doing sort of, I'm not gonna say, I don't know, like certain real life stuff manifested through World of Warcraft like gaming. That would be super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty relevant. I mean, like if you take the metaverse into account or whatever, you get that whole thing that, I mean, I mean, adoption rate is the adoption rate right now, but if that's subject to change, I mean, be like trying to privately live in the virtual world, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole. I think that's the aim here, to live privately in the virtual world, have transparent systems and private individuals using those transparent systems.
I like it.
I might just read too much sci-fi at one point to stop.
Nah, you never read too much sci-fi. You just got to read good sci-fi. I mean, to a point of what you were saying before with regards to like DAOs and games and all of this kind of stuff, then I've actually completely blanked on where I was going. Sorry, the reason I'm also 5 minutes late is I've been trying to create a offline signing service all afternoon, and yeah, I was really deep in it. Luckily, Sudo sent me a message saying, "Are you coming?" Otherwise, I probably still would be fucking around with the Cosmos signing libraries. But I mean, I think, or at least one of the things for me that I want to, or at least that personally draws me to, this area of tech as well, and the kind of stuff that we're building, is the quietness of it. It's calm technology, right? And it's also partially calm because it is just what it is. It's not like some horrible app that has like root permissions in your phone or something like that. And yeah, I think that's also something to be thinking about as well. Kind of on the opposite end of you thinking of putting an MMORPG via the mixnet, right? Which is also one of the things that I found so particularly interesting about smart contract programming when I was doing that as well. It's like there's a certain forced minimalism that you have to take, which I think is actually a good constraint to have as like a design constraint, right? When you're talking about smart contracts, it's like, okay, cool. What's like the simplest way I can elucidate essentially like a certain business logic, right, in a smart contract? That's essentially the question that you ask yourself when especially when, I used to be an Ethereum smart contract programmer. So obviously, like, you're paying $30 to send some tokens. So you obviously try and keep everything quite stripped down. But I think that's also like a logic that is good to take into the kind of apps we're designing as well, right? Like everything is very noisy now, and maybe being able to provide a certain calmness, both on a psychological level, where it's like, oh yeah, you can just, I don't know, yeah, exactly. To go back to Joe's ChatGPT example, right? It's like, cool, I can just ask ChatGPT random shit, and my requests are, mixed in with the requests of everyone else who's using this service. So then, that whatever like data aggregator is on the other end of this, kind of also looking at the things that people ask ChatGPT to work into the next iteration of it, and this kind of horrible data Ouroboros, like that's made private, so that's quite nice as well. But I think it's a broader question of how we want to start designing stuff as well to be calm and considered, because we are ultimately like, that is also a thing that we're trying to do, I would say, or that maybe not we, that I would like to see happen,
I think that's the most appropriate way of saying "we." It's a lot of that in that "we." Yeah, beautiful answer though. Thank you.
I'll have a follow-up question, or not a follow-up question actually. It's it's more of my question that I've been wondering about for quite some time. For those of you who just joined, I see a few new faces, by the way, in the audience. Welcome everyone. It's good to see you. I see some new and some old people as well. You can leave your questions in the community called text channel, which is two above the stage that we're currently on. And my question to you, Max or Joe, whichever of you guys want to take it. I've been wondering, does the mixnet, so using the mixnet, let's say I am a developer of a chat app, let's say I'm Telegram or something similar, and I decided that I want to focus on user privacy a lot from this point forward. So I will use the Nym mixnet exclusively for my chat app. So I will bring it over to the Nym platform in full. Is there any guarantee that comes with that for the user, that it is going to be private, even if, let's say on Telegram and I'm malicious and I actually just want to make it look like it's very private, but I'm trying to gather user data in the background somehow.
Well, I mean, it depends.
Is there something?
It depends what.
Go ahead.
I mean, it depends on a lot of other stuff aside from the mixnet, right? Using the mixnet as a way of keeping private your network traffic, right? So in the context of, if we use Telegram as an example, right? We all know that, or maybe we don't. Maybe I'll go over it. You know, like Telegram keeps records of conversations on its servers, right? Which is how, if you are put into a new group and the group has already been ongoing, you can see message history. And also if you move, if you reinitialize a different instance of Telegram, like the app on, maybe you get a new phone, and you can recover your Telegram account, and then you can recover all the messages, right? And that is because those messages are kept on a server somewhere, right? So if we're talking about Telegram and then using the mixnet, then, yes, Telegram can't, if the mixnet is properly implemented, right, and I'm pinging through a network requester, and that network requester is making my request to the Telegram backend that's like, oh, hey, this account needs its messages, right? Send them to me. Then it's my account. So yeah, they don't know my IP address, but they know it's me, right? So it's kind of it's a broader design question as well, right? Whereas Signal's fucking great, and it doesn't keep everything is end-to-end encrypted, right? Which is also why if you move Signal to a new phone, then but keep the same number, you don't have any of the conversations, right? Because the chats are not stored anywhere on a server. Yeah, and they're all completely end-to-end encrypted. So then, and there's a Signal clone, which I sent to Sven a while ago, and I cannot remember its name. Sven, maybe you can remember. If not, it's in my GitHub somewhere. Which allows you to use the SOX5. Well, it can use a SOX5 proxy, basically. So you could run this through the mixnet. And that's when the architecture of it also, really makes sense. With regards to were you kind of asking, Sudo, it's kind of like, I'm running an app and I'm like, hey, we only use the mixnet for traffic. But I was actually lying, or are you essentially saying, is there a way for like a user of such an app to essentially verify that the mixnet is actually?
Let me clarify. Let me clarify the question. Okay, let me give you a different example. Let's say I'm a new chat app, and I'm malicious. I'm actually going for being a honeypot for people who are very privacy focused. So I'm going to, let's say, in two years, Nym is absolutely everywhere, which it will be, and we're going to be the most famous privacy infrastructure the world has ever seen, and everybody will be talking about us and dreaming about us all the time. And then, then comes this malicious quote unquote privacy focused chat app, which is Nym based. That's their selling point, right? It's based on the Nym mixnet. It promises full anonymity. And is this provided in any way by the mixnet itself? Can we trust that this comes from the mixnet itself? Or if the app itself is malicious, then it basically doesn't matter. So do we also need to trust the app developer of this application or any application to give us privacy? So is it also a matter of implementation?
I mean, right. So the problem you're essentially talking about is the problem that is to do with free software in general, right? Which is like, oh, okay, I want to download a binary. How do I actually know that what's in this binary is what's on the Git page, right? That's essentially the question that we're asking. It's like, how do we know that we can actually trust the software that we're running is what it says it is? And
Well, I know actually, it's a bit of a different question actually, because what I'm trying to ask is whether just the fact that an app is on the Nym mixnet, does it make does it in itself, does it come with any guarantees that the app itself will be less able to spy on us, even if they want to build something that does spy on us?
I mean, like, kind of yes and no. I mean, on the one hand, right? So we're talking about, say, if we take the current architecture, right, that we have implemented with Nym Connect, which is that you send traffic from your local machine, from some app, right, that's talking to Nym Connect. We send that through, and then that will go to a network requester, right? That will go to something that is kind of publicly advertising, hey, I'm kind of here, right? If you could see the endpoint that you were going out of, maybe you could, because then maybe you could send yourself. I mean, whatever service is never going to be able to see the metadata or anything about you in virtue of using the mixnet. But otherwise, I mean, it's a very broad question that you're asking, which is kind of more to do with like the social practices around how we use and proliferate our technology, I think, which we've seen in the FOSS space for a very long time. There is also I mean, this is also going into like far more intense areas of computer science, like verifiable computation stuff. How do you know that like when I actually send a request to this application service, I know that that's the code that's been run, which is kind of very separate from the mixnet. Does that answer the question at all?
Yep, it does. And sorry if it was an overly difficult and anal question. Apologies for that.
No, it's good. It's good. Also, it's always good to work out like the boundaries of what we have as well, right? Because the mixnet's fucking awesome, but it doesn't answer every question, and there's also a lot of stuff that I think is also down to social practices as well, with apps, checking that we, even just stuff like, software version hashes and all of this kind of stuff, these are all bits of practice. But ultimately, if you send a request to a server somewhere, it's very, very difficult to know exactly what is being run on that server, right? I mean, that's what I was kind of talking about before with like verifiable and/or multi-party computation, which is like a really cool but difficult area of design, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and as for social practices and the mixnet not solving all of the problems, of course, it's just part of the solution. It's
I mean,
also
and
worth
also
it's also worth
using other stuff like credentials, right? Because then you can log in anonymously, or I
exactly.
don't know, stuff like homomorphic encryption, maybe, where you can do computation on encrypted data and this kind of stuff. So the mixnet
Exactly.
is a very
I was
big
just
old.
about
It's a big Lego piece of it, but there's other Lego pieces on top. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep using Lego as an analogy. I'm sorry. I just love it. Well, I used to love it as a kid.
So Legos.
Now I build software. So, yeah.
I still love Legos, man. Whether it's embarrassing or not, I don't care. But I still love Legos. But
No,
yeah,
no.
so I was just about to bring up actually credentials. Even if so, let's say everything you do is through the mixnet. Let's say it's end of 2023 and our decentralized VPN is out, which I don't like to call a VPN, but anyway, it's out, and you're using that, but you're logged in everywhere with your Google account, right?
Yeah,
And you use login with Facebook, then you have problems. It's the mixnet is not going to solve in and of
but
itself.
that's because it operates on a different layer, right? This is why it's good to think of the mixnet as this network layer, and then other stuff as an application layer. It's the same with blockchains, right? Blockchains are, if anything, even like a better example. And there was the Cosmos, one of the Cosmos events last year in Amsterdam. Adrian from Anoma kind of made this great statement where he was like, basically what he said was, there isn't enough value, and this is also in an abstract way. This is also maybe in terms of like user information, right, flowing through something like Ethereum, yeah. But could you imagine a world where, like, just as a thought experiment, everyone's like, I don't know, some other kind of type of data was actually on a transparent blockchain, right? And I think transparent blockchains are a really good example of this as well, where it's like, okay, cool. If I can, it depends on like what your threat model is, right? If I am using an account that everyone knows is my Ethereum account, right, to make a transaction, yeah, if I send it to the mixnet, then yes, obviously I'm keeping certain things about it private, right? Like I'm not leaking my IP to whichever nodes I'm broadcasting. Maybe I'm using a centralized service like Alchemy or Infura or something, so I'm not leaking my IP address to them. I'm not leaking the time to them, but then I'm making a transaction on a transparent blockchain, right? So then that's why we have to think of this full stack thing, right? And I think what this is like the first pieces of as well, is a way of kind of forcing us to think of how we can make apps that are more private by design as well. It's like, okay, cool, so we can protect the network layer and protect the metadata about the information that we're, essentially the transaction that we're doing. Yeah. But then we also have to think of like, okay, cool, how do we then kind of make this private on the application layer as well, and all of this kind of other stuff.
All right, wait. As for doing things in a transparent blockchain, what if I have nothing to hide, Max?
It's not the point, man. You're still being dragnetted by surveillance.
But he's just teasing
I hope
you.
that was
Teasing.
I hope it was obvious that it was a facetious question, right? Anyways,
So
I really like this.
Like I said, I've been trying to work out a signing problem all afternoon, so I'm in a very literal mindset right now. Sorry.
Kind of offended, but never mind. It's okay. I'll get over it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
We have another.
You had a question.
Yeah. I write it in the chat too, and just that's a very not personal but personal interest in it. So, is there any ideas that you could point us or input on what direction should we look into when we want to integrate Bitcoin with the DAO smart contract capabilities and mixed node rewards? Like architecturally, what the smart contract designer would say, or how would you imagine this would be the easiest, or I don't know, most viable?
What's the link here? Sorry, I don't. Can you repeat that? Whether maybe
Yes, so integrating three things: the mixnet, as in mixed nodes and Nix chain, with somewhat of DAO and smart contract capabilities to run organizations, and also the Bitcoin chain.
I mean, I suppose there's probably two ways to kind of approach that. I mean, either you have to have some kind of a bridge to Bitcoin from the Cosmos chain, or you'd probably have to be like interacting with some kind of wrapped form of Bitcoin, which somewhere down the line there would be some kind of bridge-esque thing, I imagine, because obviously you need to lock up whatever Bitcoin to then wrap it. That would be at least how you would, like I think the crux of the question you're asking basically is like, what's the like structural link between the DAO and its presumed treasury of Bitcoin?
Yeah, or
Right.
does it need to have any? Because that my crazy idea is that it might be, I don't know, very unorthodox, but I'm not sure if like what happens if we don't connect the treasury with the voting governance part, or is it possible at all through trusted nodes somehow? I don't know.
Well, I mean, is it then really a DAO if it can't natively act on, for instance, like the outcome of a vote on its treasury, if the treasury is on a chain that it can't link to? I mean, that's why you would either need like some kind of token on the Cosmos side that was like wrapped Bitcoin, right? Or you would need some kind of a bridge via which the DAO would be able to interact with the Bitcoin chain.
Mm. So, but and the other part, like, would it make sense in your would it make sense to develop all these smart contracts on the Nix chain, or does it make sense to use Cosmos? I don't know, maybe tools for this, or open source,
Cosmos what? Sorry.
like existing Cosmos solutions to run DAOs and maybe bridge between, have the HQ in the middle between the two things, between Nix and Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, all of the existing Cosmos solutions, right, are mostly like smart contracts written in Cosmos, right, which you could just deploy on Nix. So, yeah, you would deploy the DAO smart contracts on the Nix chain, probably using coconut credentials or something. Maybe as your kind of like voting mechanism, right? But you would still need that. You would still need that kind of architectural, that kind of link between. It doesn't matter what Cosmos chain you do it on, right? It's like ultimately Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracting capabilities, so you would need either a some kind of abstracted form of Bitcoin that was like a wrapped Bitcoin, or you would need a bridge of some kind. You would need some kind of a way to essentially get the necessary output of, say, if you have a DAO vote and it's like, hey, should we send Sudo half a Bitcoin because he did a load of work for the DAO? And the DAO votes yes, and then the DAO is like, okay, cool, I'm gonna I now need to make some action on the basis of this vote. There would still need to be some way then that the smart contracts could interact with the Bitcoin chain, which would be via some kind of a bridge, unless Sudo was happy to accept, some kind of wrapped Bitcoin that then presumably he could trade in for OG Bitcoin.
However you send half a Bitcoin, I'm open to it. Let's discuss in DM. It's fine.
Yeah.
I sent you a painting of half a Bitcoin. Is it okay for you?
It's Bitcoin Cash,
sure.
though. Is that okay? Yeah.
All right, we have an actual question from Hans. I'm gonna read it out. So, how do you mean to protect Nix validators from attacks, even physical attacks? Do you intend to keep using IPv4 public for all nodes? And also, he's asking as a follow-up whether the Nix chain is a single point of failure.
I mean, I don't really see how it's a single. I mean, the whole point of having a chain is that it's kind of single point of failure less, I mean, how they're going to defend themselves? I mean, they'll just do it in the same way that all validators should be defending themselves, using sentry nodes, being geographically distributed, etc. And no, I don't really see Nix as a single point of failure, because the whole point of using a blockchain, if it's properly kind of set up, is to not really allow for that. So yeah, I mean, I'd say just like the same ways that all validators should really be protecting themselves. Sentry nodes and a geographical distribution of nodes. Obviously not having the nodes in the same data center or something. Yeah.
Wait, I actually didn't read out some other stuff that he wrote, which he says that it makes the question not make any sense. So he says, let's say all the blockchains are run behind Mixnet, aka service providers are inside Mixnet, masqueraded as mixed nodes, communicate through practice Sphinx packets. This was after whether Nix is a single point of failure.
Okay, let me actually read that because I don't really understand what you're saying. Give me a sec. So community core. Is not being directed or malicious. Yeah, I don't. Sorry, I don't. I'm looking at it, but I'm not really sure what. Yeah, I'm not really sure, so I'd have to have a bit more of a explanation, I think. Run behind a mix net.
What I think, like, how I understand it is like, like layer 0, layer 1, all layer 1s run on mixed layer 0s. That's less of a point of
As in they're not in clear net at all. They're only communicating through the mix net.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that would be good because I mean, then you wouldn't be able to. I mean, if you basically just have validators talking through being like communicating through the mixnet, then you can't do what you can do at the moment with Ethereum validators, for instance, which is start linking public keys to IPs, for instance. And this was a report that came out like last year, which was looking at how you could possibly basically add like DDoS protection to Ethereum too. So something like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you run anything through a service provider, and then yeah, that obviously kind of stops you being able to link IP and public key. But then that's something that really you should also be like porting through a Sentry. I don't really think that makes Nix a target, to be honest. Not yet, anyway. It is an extra security measure for blockchains. I mean, the question is really, again, goes back to the social question of whether, those chains actually want to make their infrastructure more complex by running through the mixnet, which, once we've got the new packet format and we've kind of done a bit of parameterization and stuff in the mixnet, then, really that shouldn't be in any way affecting kind of network latency and stuff. But yeah.
We have another question actually. In the meantime, also from CGI, which is a good one. That has come up a few times, I think. So when will the Nym wallet support SOC 5? Or basically, I guess this question could also be said: when can we use the wallet over the mixnet?
There's no exact date on that, unfortunately. A short but sweet answer. Well, not very sweet. A short and not hugely sweet answer.
But is it something that we're looking into? Because I think it would make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. It's on the radar, I believe.
So is it a soon TM?
I wouldn't say soon. We have some bigger
Not-
tasks for.
Not so soon, TM.
Yeah.
That's so soon TM.
Uh,
Let's wait for.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, this one from Hans is an interesting one. So, question: Osmosis pool? Can the community make one? Which is, do you want to take it, Max? Should I?
I mean, it's your tokens. You can do what you want with them.
Yeah. So you guys can do whatever you want with your tokens. Obviously, we probably won't be setting up an Osmosis pool anytime soon. There's like various reasons for that I'm not going to go into, but it's not something that that we want. Although if you do set one up, then let me know, because it's it will be huge and also very interesting. Well, that was also a short answer.
Yeah, I almost answered it instead of you guys. Sorry, like I was like, of course, like your keys, your tokens, inclusive infrastructure. Yeah.
Even if we wanted to stop you, we couldn't, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, kind of these immutable smart contracts. I don't see more questions, Sudo, and if you agree, this has been a really cool ride with many topics on many levels that we touched on. Do you want to wrap up early a little bit so people have a sense of?
We can wrap up. I'm gonna wait for Hans to finish typing.
I wasn't.
Yeah, no questions there. Just some additional comments about an Osmosis pool. So yeah, with that, I think let's wrap up this DevRel AMA, the 4th one ever. Huge thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks, Max.
Oh, good.
And also thanks, Joe.
It was a pleasure, everyone.
And as always, the call was recorded. You may notice in the audience our beautiful recording bots, Craig and Geark. So it will be uploaded to the DevRel AMA YouTube channel at some point. And these calls happen every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. So see you on the next one. If you have any questions, you can already actually leave them here, and then we're gonna get to them in about 2 weeks. And until then, actually until the community call, which hopefully everybody is going to be attending this Friday, it is going to be a pretty interesting one. See you next time, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for sharing the thoughts, and thank you guys for listening. Have an amazing rest of the week.